Hi everyone, Elisa Klinginger with Women's Motorcycle Tours, and March is Women's History Month. So I am delighted to talk to Erin Sills, land speed multi record holder. I'm going to let her tell you about that. She is a woman who has made history, and thank you so much for being with me, Erin.
Thanks very much. I really
Yeah. So what got you into racing?
I like to describe it as the intersection of opportunity and passion. And I learned of an event called the Bonneville Motorcycle Speed Trials, and they had something called Run What You Brung, where you could bring your own motorcycle, do some safety inspections, ensure you have the right gear, and then you could run your motorcycle flat out, top speed, best it will do on the Bonneville Salt Flats. And I had the opportunity to go up there and run that on my 1998 Honda VFR. And from there on, I was hooked and was going to show up with a proper race bike every year.
Oh, neat. How long ago was that?
I started racing in 2004. So that event was 2004. And then I came back with the proper race bike in 2005. So that was math, 17 years ago, I guess, to when I first came with a proper race bike.
And so starting with an improper race bike, you've gone on to have an entire racing team and have won several records. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Yeah, well, like all sports, it takes it takes a village, and that's true. And it wasn't long, and I was racing then with my late husband, Andy Sills, and it wasn't long before we came to realize that we were good at racing and riding, but we were not the mechanical team and the chassis specialists to be able to set us up to set records. So we had the fortune to meet my current race team, or the people that comprise it, Gary Orr out of San Diego BMW Motorcycles, and then Shane Kinderis, who comes out of Worley, Australia, and Curtis Tom, who's also out of San Diego, and he's a Moto America chassis mechanic. And they do it out of passion and love, and that's what enabled us to be able to get to a level where we could set multiple world and national records. So yeah.
So what does it feel like when you're at speed?
It's difficult to explain, but I will do my best. It is more calm than you would expect it to be. If you think about going from 0 to 240 miles an hour, if you're doing that in a drag car, it's a very, violent G-force experience. What we're doing, we've got time to get up to speed, so it's a little calmer. But just like any athlete, you've trained for it, so you're going through the list of things that you need to do. So when I'm racing, I'm ensuring that my body's in the proper position. Can I get smaller? Am I full throttle? Am I on the course where I want to be? What's the wind doing? What's the bike doing? Do I have traction? Can I get more power to the ground? It's that series of almost checklist items that you're going through when you're doing it. The sensation of speed is difficult to describe because there isn't much reference around you except for a mountain that's ahead of you, and then quarter-mile flags that go by very quickly. And if you're looking at the flags, you're doing the wrong thing. So the sensation of speed is most prescient when you actually might get an elbow out in the wind, and all of a sudden you're feeling 200 miles an hour of pressure against your arm, and you're thinking, oh, I could get smaller. How do I get that in? And you're focused on doing your job more than anything else. And if things go smoothly and properly, you're trying not to feel the intensity of the speed and all of that. It's when something goes a little out of plan, like I said, if you get a limb out in the wind, and by the way, if you get a limb out in the wind at 200 miles an hour, you're not going to get it back in. So when I'm talking about out in the wind, I mean like that. You know, if you get it like this, you're not going to get back. You slow down, it comes back in, and you're fine. But you won't set a record then. But yeah, it's a sensation that is can be a very exhilarating place. It can also be a very zen place to be. And like, you know, your audience, I'm sure they've had exhilarating experiences on motorcycles. And if you put yourself into that happy, exhilarating, athletic, wow, I'm doing my job right, but I'm a little bit, you know, I'm a little tense because it's extreme, but at the same time things are going well, so I'm happy about it. It's that kind of place. So maybe you've experienced that on some of your long distance rides where you're like, all right, I'm a little out of my comfort zone, but I got this, and that brings a smile to your face. It's that kind of feeling.
Interesting. Interesting. And so how many land speed records do you hold now?
So the thing that we say in land speed racing is that you borrow the records, you don't own them, because again, so my team and I have set 45 world and national and Guinness records. I honestly don't know how many are still out there. There are some that I'm very proud of. We probably still own most of the records in the 1000cc class that are not turbo. I haven't raced the turbo motorcycles yet. My bikes have nitrous on them, so we probably hold most of those. But you know, you're always defending it, right? So you never know. There's probably somebody out there who's chomping at the bit to come get my records, and hopefully, you know, I can keep them at bay a little bit longer.
And what's your motorcycle that you race?
I'm currently on a BMW S1000RR, and I race two of them. One of them has nitrous, and that puts it into a different category. And then one of them is naturally aspirated. So those two bikes don't race against one another. So I've been racing, we've been racing that platform for, I guess, 6 or 7 years, and it's been pretty successful for us. We just keep trying to take the records up a little bit higher, and you keep, you know, dialing things in a little bit more and a little bit more each time, trying to.
And you hold a very unusual Guinness Book of World Records record. Will you tell me a little bit about that?
I do. And I'll probably hold it forever because no one will be allowed to do the crazy stunt that we did ever again. So Andy, my late husband, and I had the opportunity to race on the Bonneville Salt Flats at an exhibition only event to become the fastest two people simultaneously on a motorcycle. So we are the Guinness fastest two people simultaneously. And to do that, we had to set a world record. And we did it with, if you think about two people riding two up on a motorcycle, the first pass that we did to qualify, he was in the front and I was in the back. And then the second pass, I was in the front and he was in the back, so that we didn't just put the girl on the back of the bike and, you know, feed into some cliche kind of stereotypes. So, but yeah, we're the fastest two people simultaneously on a motorcycle. And then I'm the fastest woman on a conventional motorcycle. I'm also the fastest person, but Guinness doesn't look at it that way, so it's okay.
Okay, all neat stuff. And for the people who don't race, it's my understanding that you do 2 passes. You have to, it's the average of those 2 passes that gets your number, correct?
Right, and racing, and I describe it as the most extreme sport that very few people know about. And honestly, the world's fastest Indian movie with Anthony Hopkins about Burt Munro actually is a very good description of what land speed motorcycling is about. So if any of your audience doesn't know about the sport but wants to go learn more, watch that movie because it's very true to the sport. But yes, so we race, it's the average over a mile. So for example, to set a record at 200 miles an hour, if you do the math, you are averaging 200 miles an hour for 18 seconds to cover that distance. and then you have to do it again. So you have to in the opposite direction so that they can account for any wind that happens.
Ah,
So
okay.
it's very different than a drag race. Drag racers who have their own unique and wonderful skills, they hit the throttle and then bam, they're at 200 or 300 miles an hour, and then they're back down in 8 seconds total. In our case, I get to ride over 200 miles an hour for a couple minutes if you add it all up for a record. So
Wow.
it's pretty fun. You have to have a vehicle that you feel very comfortable on and a team who values your life, and they are brothers to me. That's absolutely the case.
Yeah. Neat, neat, neat. So now you are doing something history making I'm not saying it right. You're making history again with women riders now alongside of your racing. So tell us a little bit about that.
It's funny when somebody talks about history, I'm like, wait a minute, people that set history are old. History, I'm like, you don't make history, you're not old enough. Oh, I guess I am. So Women Riders Now is a torch that my business partner Sarah Schilke and I and our team are taking forward from a woman who established it in 1999, Genevieve Schmidt, and she actually founded a print magazine called Women Rider that then morphed into a website and became Women Riders Now, which we carry today as a website and a social presence. And she established it because there wasn't a voice for women in motorcycling, and she wanted to fill that void. And Sarah and I and Genevieve had since gotten out of the business, and Sarah and I had the opportunity to come in and do our best to revitalize it. And we are absolutely enjoying that. We feel a responsibility to provide women with resources that might be unavailable to them otherwise. So similar to your books that you are writing to try to share with women how to get into riding and what the tips and tricks are and things to know, we have bike reviews and gear reviews and reader stories and just trying to provide things for the woman who wants to understand more about motorcycling. And we're not exclusive to women only. If obviously we know that men and others help support all of our efforts, and so we are certainly including men in what we're doing. But we do our best to do by women for women reviews and articles and stories and event reviews like your tours. We've had a blast joining you on the Sister Centennial ride and your Women's Motorcycle Conference, so that we can share what that's like, the woman who wants to explore it a little bit but doesn't know where to start.
Yeah. I feel like as an experienced rider, we have almost an obligation to help usher the next generation in their knowledge, in their expertise, and it's such a cool time to be a female motorcyclist and to be able to see all these women who are creating their own events and everything. And I think it's just great that you pay it forward like that.
You think, and you think about it from the perspective of history. Did the Van Buren sisters realize they were setting history, or were they carrying forth a torch that they felt had been, was important? And that kind of blows my mind to start thinking about things like that. Like, did the women that we think of in, Bessie Stringfield, did she know that she was setting history and that we would be talking about her? Or was she just doing her thing and it happened to happen and it was documented and we revel in her now? It's just I don't know, it kind of blows my mind. I wonder if the same conversation is going to happen in 100 years of, oh yeah, here's what Alyssa Clickinger did. With the books. It makes you kind of think a little bit.
Maybe we'll see if they're still talking about us in 100 years. I'm not going to be around for that. But if I can I feel like if I can make a difference in just one other rider's life, then you know, it's all fantastic from there.
Well, and you definitely have. You absolutely.
Well, thanks. And I want to thank you for all you do for the riding community. I know we're running short on time now. You also teach off-road and have this whole massive catalog of rides and riding and expertise riding off-road as well, riding adventure bikes. And I just love how you're such a multi-dimensional rider and really are paying it forward. And I just I love working with you. Thanks for joining with me today. And hopefully the two of us have inspired some other ladies to go off and do their own super personal, super fabulous stuff that makes a difference for them and for others.
Absolutely. Your passions. You're a great example of that, Elisa.
Thanks. So are you. Thanks for being here.
Yeah, of course.